This is Professor Melanie Hildebrandt. I'm going to work another problem related to the material in Chapter 7 on global markets. This problem does not come directly from the textbook. So suppose this is the sugar market for the United States. Okay, so we have the demand, the supply in just the domestic U.S. market for sugar. So if we had no international trade and this market was in equilibrium, see if you can think about, you can pause for a second, but what is equilibrium price and what would be our equilibrium quantity? So hopefully you would see that our equilibrium price would be 20 cents per pound, and the equilibrium quantity would be 45 million pounds per month, right? Because 20 cents would be the price where quantity demanded equals quantity supplied at 45 million pounds. But now let's open the U.S. up to the potential of international trade, okay? And so for this problem, we're going to be told that the world price, so the price in the world market for sugar, is going to be 10 cents per pound. Okay, so the world price is 10 cents per pound. So at that world price then, you need to be able to figure out what would U.S. consumers demand, what would be our quantity demanded, and what would our U.S. producers want to supply. Okay, so we'll come down here to this world price. All right, of 10 cents, and we would see, so at the world price of 10 cents, the quantity demanded by our consumers, here's our demand curve, would be 70 million pounds, and the quantity supplied would be 20. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. First of all, if the equilibrium market in a closed U.S. market is 20 cents, but the equilibrium price on that world market is 10 cents, then does the U.S. have a comparative advantage in the production of sugar, or does that comparative advantage belong to another country? And the answer is, so if we're going here, again, based on this price in the U.S. market higher than, there's no comparative advantage for the U.S., okay, in terms of producing sugar. So again, we've seen that world price, the quantity demanded in the domestic market, would exceed quantity supplied, okay, by how much? Well, by a quantity of 50 million pounds of sugar, all right? So what are we going to do? Are those consumers going to do without? No, we're going to have international trade now, and so the difference between our quantity demanded and quantity supplied, this 50 million, would be imported in, okay? But let's suppose that some sugar farmers here in the United States, they're going to go to our government and they're going to lobby. They're going to petition, okay, to have a tariff added. Recall that a tariff is a tax on an import. So they're going to petition to have a tariff added to all of the imported sugar. Why do firms want to do that? Well, it helps them, okay? What we're going to see is that it's going to raise the price in the domestic market. Therefore, U.S. firms get to charge a price higher than the world price. And what's going to happen is U.S. firms are going to charge world price plus however much the tariff is that's being placed on that imported sugar. The government's also going to benefit. They're going to see an increase in tax revenues. All right, so let's look at this more closely. Let's say that our tariff here is going to be 5 cents per pound. Okay, so going back up to our graph, again, we were at a world price of 10 cents, but we're going to add the tariff or that tax, okay, 5 cents. And so what that's going to do is that's going to raise the price of sugar in the U.S. There's going to be our new price, okay, 15 cents per pound. All right, so let's just draw this in. So hopefully you can also see what this then does to the quantity demanded and quantity supplied in our U.S. market. All right, if price goes up, we should see quantity demanding increase. Remember, it was 70 million pounds, but now it's going to go down to 60. And again, price has gone up in the domestic market, so we should see quantity supplied go up. And we do, it's increased from 20 million to 30 million. Okay. So in terms of our graph, we can see some areas here that will illustrate what's been lost. I'm going to label these A, B, C, and D. And this larger area of A, B, C, D, so all of those added together, that's our loss of consumer surplus. Okay, so let me get a fresh sheet here. So areas A plus B plus C plus D equal loss of consumer surplus. So our consumers are worse off. Okay, well, where does this go? Well, area A is an increase in producer surplus. So going back to our graph, this area here is then added to producer surplus. So again, this is why firms are petitioning for those tariffs or taxes on imports, because it makes them better off. Area C, we're going to see, contributes to an increase in government revenue. Remember, tariff is a tax. Where do taxes go? Taxes are simply revenue generation for the government. Areas B and D, we call a net welfare loss, okay, to the United States from having this tariff. So let's now look at how we would calculate this increase in government revenue. All right, their revenue is simply going to be the quantity of the imports only, because that's what is getting the tax levied on it, times the amount of the tariff or the tax. Okay, so again, we saw that our tariff is 5 cents per pound. And now we need to figure out what's the quantity of our imports. So again, the quantity of the imports is going to be the amount by which quantity demanded still exceeds quantity supplied, and in this case, that would be 30 million pounds. So back here, we could put in our 30 million pounds times the 5 cents, and that would be the increase in government revenue. One more thing to note here about this question. Not only are there losers in the domestic market, our consumers again lose to producers and some to the government, but also we're hurting the foreign producers of sugar. Okay, previously when we were at world price, they were able to import 50 million pounds of sugar to the U.S. market, and now they're only importing 30 million. So we have hurt those other producers.